So hello everybody and welcome to the Magical New Beginnings podcast. My name is Sharon King and I am very excited to be talking again to the lovely Sue Cook. Welcome, Sue.
Hello, thank you for having me again. It's lovely to see you.
You're very, very welcome. And I think this conversation today is going to blow a few socks off of people. I think when they realize that there's the abilities that you have and the knowledge you're going to share is going to really help a lot of people.
Yeah, I really hope so. Yeah.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will because, well, as we know, we all need a little bit of help right now with our bodies and our minds.
Yeah, definitely.
So let me just read your bio here. So Sue Cook is a mother of two sons. Older one is diagnosed with severe dyslexia at the age of 6. Sue refused to accept nothing could be done. So she researched and she helped him with neurodevelopment. So we'll talk a little bit in a minute about what neurodevelopment is.
Oh, sure.
Since then, you've helped hundreds of other families with spectrum issues and now trains other in neurodevelopment, author of several books. Sue, tell us the names of your books, please.
Well, I've got some of them here actually. So I've got Maximize Your Child's Potential.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's a collection of speeches I've given, articles I've written, and all sorts of things. So I thought I'd write it up into a book so that it's quite useful. This is my first book on nutrition, which is Nutrition for Special Needs, which I co-wrote with one of my university friends, Karen Stevenson. And this is a result of always having to say the same things to the parents of my patients about food, really. So I wrote Nutrition for Special Needs because it's based on, that one's really based on my dad's experience back in the 70s when he had ADHD and was intolerant to everything, and the journey we went on with his elimination diet and then gradually introducing things and the education we all got as a result. And you don't realize when you're 7 how useful that's going to be for your life. So, so that book is a little bit about that, really. That's the inspiration for it. And then why we need nutrients and where you're going to find them and how to help your kid who's got issues to try and help them. So that was that one. I don't have any copies of Eat for Your Brain. I've sold them all, the ones that are in the house. You can still buy it online. Eat for Your Brain is on Superfoods. Eat for Your Brain 2, the second edition, is better than the first. It's got more detail. And that's on superfoods. And I was inspired to write that because I didn't know what superfoods were. And I was taking reishi mushroom and felt better on it. So I thought I need to investigate this. So I just did a research dive into it and then wrote, it's designed like Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. So you can either look up your symptoms and see what superfoods you need, or you can look up a superfood and see what it helps. So it's literally that simple, and that's it. So, and I've written other books. I've written some children's fiction and stuff like that and other stuff in the past. And I used to be a magazine editor, so I've written a lot of articles on various things. But I had a couple published in Naturopathy magazine last year, one on myocarditis and one on skincare, because I grow my own herbs and make my own potions. So yeah, so now it's the turn of Brain in a Jar.
Brain in a jar. Wow. Awesome. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, we'll talk about that one in a minute, but I would like to go back to to your son's story. Can you share your son's story with us?
Yeah, absolutely. He was born and I looked at him, and I was an experienced auntie at the time. I'd had 10 nieces and nephews, and I looked at Toby and I just thought, something's not quite right here. And he was a child who never engaged with any toys. He never wanted to do drawing, or just literally zero. All he wanted to do was get moving, walk, and to talk to me and listen. So he learnt to walk, well, 3 months old, he could wiggle across the floor on his back. At 8 months old, he'd walk for 2 hours. So by the time he was a year and a half, we spent from 9 till 5 outside walking. And so we would just talk, and I would just tell him about things, and we got on really well. We were best mates. And I used to teach him about biology and how the heart worked and the bladder. He was fascinated by that for months, and the brain and all sorts of things. And he he was really interested in science, and he could, at the age of 3 to 4, 5, discuss degree level quantum physics. But I tell you what, he did not get that from me. I don't know where that came from, but he would look at, say, when you look at a galaxy picture, and he'd go, well, light's clearly magnetic. Look, you can see how it flows around planets. And I'm like, I don't even understand this. But my ex-husband did. He knew about quantum physics, and he's going, oh yeah, that's string theory, M theory, and all of these other things it was. But my goodness, he was so a genius. And then he started school, and he had no classroom skills. He couldn't sit, he couldn't engage with paper, he couldn't engage with anything. And he just used to sit in his chair, rocking, staring at the ceiling. And so one day, one of the teachers took him outside and said, what was that lesson about? And he recalled it perfectly, but you wouldn't have thought he had, because he was rocking and staring at the ceiling. So the school said that he was not capable of being educated, and we needed to see an ed psych. So we did, and he was diagnosed with extremely severe dyslexia. And then I was told, there's no cure, you have to learn to live with it. And my child wasn't happy, so I did what us parents do, and I started investigating and discovered this whole world of neurodevelopment. And I found a woman. She was called Svea Gold. She was in Oregon. And I found her website and started messaging her, and she supported me to restore the missing nerves and muscles that weren't working in Toby's head, so that he could function better. So he had no tracking. So tracking is when you keep your head still, follow an object.
Mm-hmm.
He had no 3D vision, so his eyes were not yolked, so he didn't know what on over there was. He had Erlen syndrome, so he had issues with contrast, and there was one more, something else, I'll remember it in a minute. But so basically his eye function wasn't working. We sorted out tracking in 3 days, but thanks to Svea. His 3D vision came in after 21 days, and that was mind-blowing. We're sitting on the end of, in my bed, where we would have a little cuddle after we'd done the program that Svea sent us, with our feet sticking up, and then there was the end of the bed, and there was the wall. And we'd just done the program, and he's going to me, he starts doing all this, and he's going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And he's doing all this, and I'm like thinking, is this good, oh my God, or bad, oh my God? And so I'm like yeah, right. So I'm just like watching him going, oh, oh, oh. And I'm like, oh. And I said to him after, I let him do this for a couple of minutes or however long. And I said to him, darling, is that good, oh my God, or bad, oh my God? And he went, Mummy, he said, look, my feet are in front of the end of the bed, and the end of the bed is in front of the wall. He goes, I've got 3D vision. And I thought, oh my God, this is incredible. And he's going, woo, like this. So then he looked around at my bedside cabinet, which was all full of, you know how it is, lotions, potions, books, and a lamp, and da 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 da. And he's going, oh, it's so complicated. So that was just mind blowing. And that was his first venture into having eyes that were yolked and depth perception. And that changed his life. Just that one small thing. Well, the tracking changed his life, and the 3D vision thing changed his life. And he became a lot more confident in his surroundings. He could already ride a bicycle by 3, but he was a bit dangerous. You wouldn't let him out on a road. He was all right in the garden, because he just couldn't tell where anything was. But now he could, and his boost in his confidence was just mind-blowing, because he had been that kid that would be up my skirt, mummy, mummy, get me out of here, don't look at anyone, don't talk to anyone, get me out of here. And within literally a matter of days, weeks, he was like, oh, I've arranged for one of my friend's dads to pick me up on Saturday and take me to so-and-so's party. And I'm like, where's my kid gone, and who's this imposter? So all the other mums noticed what was going on, and noticed his improvement, which was like going up in huge jumps. And my phone started ringing. And so I had mums phoning me up, and within 3 months, I'd worked with over 100 kids. It
Wow.
went mad. So, and I was saying to them, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. This is just, and they said, we don't care, but whatever it is you've done, we want it. And I'm going, okay, but I don't know what I'm doing. And all their kids were improving. And so they started telling people. So this absolutely bonkers accidental practice happened. And Svea then became my teacher for the next 5 years until she died. And so that's what I've been doing since 2006. So my son is now 23. He got, like, I don't know how many GCSEs. It was at least 10. He got some A levels, I don't know, a few, and he's just got a music degree 2 years ago. So this kid that couldn't be educated is a musician. How mind blowing is that?
Wow. I mean, he was highly intelligent from, you know, he was plugged in. Let's call it, rather than intelligence. He was just plugged in,
Oh,
and he was probably using a different part of the brain, you know, like autistic kids. He was probably using a different part of the brain than us.
yeah, yeah. He's always been amazing, and I'm really proud of him.
Mm.
He's a really interesting person.
Wow.
And that was that journey. So, and it was, yeah, that's how all this stuff happened, because I never planned it. It's not like I set out and said, right, I think I'm going to mend people's brains. It was not like that at all. It was like problem, 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 and just like swimming through the issues, and just doing my best to help people, because is there a greater thing to do? It's been brilliant to be able to help.
What would you say are I don't know, if there's a top three or a top five, or what would be your one to ABC of helping a child?
Do you mean a child who's got learning
Hmm.
issues?
Yeah.
Well, I think the first thing is that children who've got learning issues and have been in school are used to being told off, made wrong, feeling inadequate, and being made wrong. So the most important thing is to believe in them and let them know that they're amazing, and that this is a really good way to help them, and they're not going to feel like that anymore. Because if you can't work with a switched off person of any age, you have to have engagement. So if you make someone feel good about themselves, they'll engage with you. And that's what I found in my clinic. So I was always half mad scientist and half children's entertainer. That's how the mums and dads described me, because that was the way to get a very disengaged child to engage. So that is the most important thing. You've got to make somebody feel good about themselves so that they'll work with you, and giving people hope, but not
Mhm.
empty hope, strategy. So this is where we are, this is where we're going, and this is, and the side effects were everyone felt happier. I'd have mums come in tears. I'd have mums, phoning me up after the first week, saying, I've been in tears for the past 2 years, and now this is the first time I've stopped crying. And just, this powerful work. And a mum who couldn't take her son to the cinema or the park, anywhere, because he just couldn't deal with it. He
Mm.
could read, he could do the Times crossword at 3, but he couldn't go to a cinema or a park. And he improved, and in weeks. So it was giving mums a sense of hope back too, and that's really important. Those are the most important. Probably not the answer you expected, but also educating them about why this is valid, and how valuable it is. So I always said to the child, I'd always pick them up and say, I know you're really good at science and you're really interested in science, aren't you? And they go, yeah, even if they weren't, or if didn't understand what the words were. And I say, come on, let's go and find out things. So we maybe test their mum's pupil contraction. Say, look, let's all test everyone's. And so they would be involved in my side of it, rather than them being, you're broken and I'm going to fix you. It would be, it's kind of called sidelong communication. So they'd be like with me, because I always saw children with their parents, or with everyone come, the dog, the grandparents, all the other brothers and sisters. I usually saw people as a family. So loads of people in my clinic to sort of involve the kid in, to test everyone to see how they did. And it was fun and really learning. It was very educational for everybody, because when like with me, when I saw my son wasn't working in his head, when he was, his nerves and muscles in his eyes and so on wasn't working when he was 6, and I discovered neurodevelopment. It's important for other parents to see that, because then they get this incredible sense of, how do they even get out of bed in the morning type feeling, which is extremely important, because then it gives them a greater level of compassion when they're dealing with their child. Oh yeah, they can't do that yet, but they will. They're not being difficult, they're not being naughty. Everybody wants to feel like they fit in. Everybody wants to feel part of things. and nobody deliberately alienates themselves from things. So if somebody's behaving like that, then there's a reason for that, and we want to get them back to their feeling valued as part of their family community or school community or whatever it is. Yeah, basically.
Wow. And do you train people to do the neurodevelopment?
Yes, again, I never planned that either. I was invited to go on a radio show about 12, 13 years ago. And I went on the radio show, and it was a local one in Suffolk, and somebody heard it. A lady called Jo, who was a Bowen therapist, and she was running, I think she was running a conference and invited me to go and be a speaker at this conference. Again, I never planned that. So I went and gave this speech at the conference, and they all wanted to learn neurodevelopment. So I'm like, right, okay, better write a course then. So that's when BrainBuzzz was born, rather than just me helping kids, in my clinic. So BrainBuzzz was my training company, and still is, and Active Body, Agile Mind. And I started training people. So yeah, loads of people I've trained over the years. And I love, 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 love training people, adults, to do neurodevelopment, because it's so different from anything that most people have ever done. People think, oh, is it like NLP? No. Is it like this? No. So, and they're just blown away by the interestingness of it, and I love that. I love sharing it. So yeah, I've written a whole manual. The manual's like 2 inches thick, and because I'm a homeopath, I believe in potentizing things, so putting more power into something. So the manual is done. You don't have to write anything down. We learn by doing, we learn by experiencing, we learn by seeing and hearing and engaging, mostly. So the manual's done. You don't need to spend 6 months in a classroom writing all that stuff down. Let's do it, get along with it. So we just do. The whole course is doing, and probably listening to me rabbit on about science for a bit as well, but it's fun. And then at the end of the course, at the end of the week, they are able to go and do what I do, because I make sure of that. So they get tested and tested and tested and repeat, because we learn by repetition. Like we're learning a language, when we're learning to ride a bicycle, when we're learning to be a neurodevelopment practitioner, it's all repetition. So they're confident by the time they leave. And there we go. That's what happened. And then yeah, so yeah, that's where I'm at.
Beautiful. So could you give us a little example of some of the techniques that you would use with the neurodevelopment?
Yeah, so what we are doing, every neurotypical person on the planet, I'm not particularly neurotypical, I've got some interesting wiring in there, but a neurotypical person, from conception through doing in utero to birth, their body will have done particular movements called reflexes, all in the same order and all for the same amount of time, because movement of the body builds the nerve pathways in the brain. So mine's mostly neurotypical, but there are some issues. I've been dyscalculate, I have maths issues since I was very young, but I'm a lot better now, having done years of this. I can now do maths. So if a neurotypical brain is made by the same repetitive actions, then if we repeat those same repetitive actions, then we can give the brain to another chance to develop as it might have done optimally had no issues occurred. And that's what we do. So an example might be the Moro reflex. So you might be all curled up in a little egg, and then you're looking at your knees, and then you spread out your arms and legs, and then you look at the wall behind you, and you come in and you come out. So you'd be doing this on the floor normally. So that would be the Moro, that's one. And then we've got the asymmetrical tonic neck reflex. So again, we start in a ball, and then we would come out. So the leg on this side is out, the leg on this side isn't. And then the other way. This is probably the hardest one. And that would be the asymmetrical tonic neck reflex. And so we work on inhibiting the primitive reflexes. So when our development is stuck at a certain level, if we inhibit any of the reflexes that are still retained, then we can graduate out from that level onto a different brain level, which means that the higher functions like the human brain, the mammalian brain, etc., will not be tripped up by issues within the reptilian brain, if you like, if we're going to put it in those terms. So that's what we do. So we're just giving the brain a chance to develop again optimally. Yeah.
Okay, so that is a little bit similar to the rhythmic movement
Yeah. Yeah.
technique and
Yeah.
the musculoskeletal technique. Okay, yeah, I've written about those in my book. So awesome.
Yeah.
So it involves like doing those body movements to how would you describe it? Is it resetting those reflexes? Is it integrating them? What
You can call it reflex integration, or you can call it reflex inhibition. It doesn't really matter what you call it, but the goal is the same. It's to just make sure that all those bits of your brain are working better.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. So you also work with nutrition, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not actually a nutritionist, but I have just studied nutritional modules at uni, plus all the experience I had as a kid. But yeah, I've written now 3 books on nutrition, very much from a science perspective, because that's what my training is and my experience, really. So
So
yeah.
do you add that into if you're working with a family and that their child is struggling in one way or another, then obviously you do the um what's it called?
Neurodevelopment.
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 Yeah, that you do the neurodevelopment with them, but would you also include in some homeopathy, some nutritional work, or is it
It
purely just
depends. It very much depends, because usually we don't have time. And very often I will send them to a homeopath or whatever, because we literally don't have time in a 2-hour session for that. If it's very obvious to me, like, oh my God, this is another little carcinosin kid, I'll say to the mum, you might want to have this remedy, and I might give them it. But I generally don't have time. But the nutrition thing, I do very often talk about food, because a lot of people with spectrum symptoms have real trouble digesting food and have got inflamed guts. So I'm so experienced at that with the thousands of children I've worked with. So I can normally pinpoint stuff fairly easily and know when there's going to be a problem. And so because their gut's inflamed, they're not absorbing nutrients properly. So they're all, not all of them, but some of them eat loads because they're just trying to get the nutrients in. And it all makes perfect sense if you understand the sort of mechanisms behind it. But yeah, so we try and do things to calm the guts down. But if they're eating something bad, like things I have a bugbear with are artificial sweeteners and things like that, which are not great for anybody really. But so a lot of these things, like with my dad, because of his symptoms, his food intolerances when he had ADHD, he was so intolerant to colorings, flavorings, preservatives, monosodium glutamate, nitrates, nitrites, the lot, anything. It would have him on the floor foaming at the mouth. It was really bad. So if issues are like that we talk about during clinical sessions, I'll absolutely say, yeah, we need to have a look at that, and I will assist them. But yeah, it's never from a place of blame or you're doing this wrong. It's more of a case of, okay, I think we could improve this, and let's see how it goes and see if those symptoms improve. So it's very, very nurturing the way I work.
Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. So now you've discovered that it really helps with older people with dementia. Is that
Yes.
right?
So what happened was, it was about 9 years ago, and I was asked by somebody I knew's family who knew what I did, if I could help the sister of this lovely lady, because she'd been diagnosed at 57 with early onset dementia. And I said, I don't know, but all we can do is try. So I turned up at this house with all my homeopathy stuff, all my neurodevelopmental stuff, and all my nutrition books. And I think I spent 3 or 4 hours just making notes and going through everything, finding out what was going on. And then I worked out a strategy for her. And when I arrived, she couldn't any longer remember what door handles were for, what taps were for, and she had lost a lot of proper nouns, so person, place, thing words. And she was quite nervous, obviously, because people get very anxious. Of course they do when they're going through this. And she was very, very anxious. And part of my demeanor is just making people feel very calm. So I just worked through it slowly, and then I gave her a program. So I put her on specific nutrients. I put her on a neurodevelopment program that I put a 5-year-old on right back at the beginning. And I think, yeah, I definitely gave her some homeopathy as well. And I went away and I came back a few weeks later, and she was doing the program really well, and she was coming along really well. She could do all of the exercises without assistance, which was brilliant. And then I think I saw her another couple of times, but 3 months after the first time I saw her, because she lived like 2 miles from me, I was walking down the road and her car stopped next to me, and she went, "Look, I'm driving." And she'd spotted me, pulled up. She goes, "Look, I'm good." And I'm like, wow. I know, mind blowing. So I thought, well, this has legs. This people are going, I don't know, even more so in the last 4 years, perhaps. I think with all the trauma and everything, I think people, you know, if you're traumatized, that can affect your memory, because you can't use your brain as you might as efficiently. So I think this is something that needs to be shared, and especially menopausal women as well, memory loss and all of that. And so I thought, well, I need to share this. So I've been writing it. I started it last summer. I did a Marissa Peer, one of my favorite hypnotherapists. She did an online course, a free one for a week, and I did it religiously. And the book came to me while I was doing that. So while I was in my alpha brainwave state, Brain in a Jar just came to me. So I need to write to Marissa Peer and say thank you. And I actually wrote it last summer, and then I couldn't deal with how to work it out, how to get it. I don't know. I just stopped and forgot all about it until about 3 months ago. And I said, no, I have to do it. I think I must have done another Marissa Peer meditation. And I just got it out. And now it's written, it's edited. I'm waiting on the cover, which should be back in the next few days. I've already got pre-orders. I've sold 6 copies already. I'm so excited. And I've got gifts to give away to people who pre-order. So I'm just over the moon with it. So probably another month, maybe 5-6 weeks, and it will be here.
Yay! So we are beginning of September right now, just to give some September 2024. So if you're listening to this in the future, then go to Amazon and you'll be able to find Brain in a Jar.
Yeah, by Sue Cook. Yeah.
By Sue Cook. Awesome. Awesome. Well, how excited, and sign me up for a copy, please, as well, because yeah. And I also want to do some of those meditations too. So Marissa, what did you say her name was?
Marissa Peer. Oh, I've been a big fan of hers for years. She's absolutely great. She's so she takes the difficult out of everything. And I love her. I watch her on YouTube a lot. And she's just she's just got it. And I watched something of hers and I'm like, I'm all put back together in the right order again. She's just great. I love her. Yeah,
love it, love it, love it. Beautiful. So people always love case studies. So could you give us some more of your amazing case studies that you're able to share with us, of course, without breaking confidentiality?
No, that's fine. Do you want a neurodevelopment one or an older person one, or what do you want? Should I just...
Both, please.
All right, so I'll give you one that was wonderful and still brings tears to my eyes. So do you remember back in 2006 when I first started to help my son, and then all these hundreds of kids came with their families, and my first ever paying customer after that was a little boy. He was somebody at the place where my sons were at school's cousin. So they came out of London and they arrived, and I thought, after 3 months and working with 100 kids, I now know what I'm doing. Oh my goodness, it's like a baptism of fire sometimes, isn't it, with being a therapist? So this little 6-year-old came in and he hid under my desk and he started rocking. And I'm thinking, in my brain, I'm going, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so far out of my depth. Oh no, and all this. And then I had to say to myself, Sue, stop being a twat. You're a homeopath and you can do neurodevelopment. Calm down. And I'm like, oh yeah. And all that's going on in my head. Oh my God. So I just this little kid was under my desk. His mum was deaf. She's still deaf, but my dad was deaf. So I communicated with her really well because I knew how to do that. And we just did the program, and I taught the other siblings how to do the program, and they were in charge of doing it with this little boy that was under my desk. And he was sitting there drawing dead bodies, which is what he was doing at the time. And he'd been diagnosed with autism and a nervous breakdown at the age of 5. They came back after a month, and the improvement in him was unbelievable. He didn't sit under my desk. He was just like fine, engaging with me, and it was incredible. And this little boy, he did brilliantly on the program, brilliantly. But this is the only child I've ever had do this. Every time he stopped it, we thought, oh yeah, he doesn't need to do it now. All his symptoms would come back. So he had to stay on the program, and he was on it for well over a year, because often a child can go through the program in 4 or 5 months, something like that. It was over a year, and it would come back. And so they just stayed on it, not forever, but they stayed on it. And I became really good friends with the mum, and we used to hang out with all my children and all her children, and we became really close friends. And then this little boy, his dad was very tall, like well over, probably, I don't know, 6'5", 6'6". And the mum was taller than me. She's a tall girl. I got a phone call going, he's just grown about 6 inches in the last month. And he said to me, Mummy, I need to see Sue. So would you come over and see us? I'm like, yeah, okay. So I met up with them all, and he was like huge, you know, it's well over 6 foot, this little 6-year-old that wasn't 6-year-old anymore. I think he was about 15 at the time. And we just put him back on the program for a few weeks, and he was fine again. But yeah, he'll be 22 now. So
Wow.
he's just doing amazingly. So yeah, that was one of my favorite cases. Yeah, what else can I think of? Just little bits rather than a whole case. A lot of the people who come and see me don't sleep, and a few times I've had one of the exercises we do is a cranial massage. So we massage the facial nerve, the trigeminal nerve, and the vagus nerve, and you calm someone down, you pull them out of fight or flight, basically. And so I've done the massage, and the child's gone to sleep on my floor, and the dad's gone, you've killed him, what's he doing? Like, no, he's asleep. I know you've never seen your child asleep before, but that is asleep. It's okay, he's going to wake up again. And go, oh. So that happened quite a few times, which was very funny. But yeah, we had a lot of fun in the clinic. It was yeah, I'm just trying to think of other things. I mean, there's been so many over the years, thousands. Trying to pull out one or two out of my head. I can't think of any more at the moment, because you know how it is. There's hundreds, well over 1,000.
So do these children go back, like if they have a label of autism, and then afterwards, like, would they be like less on the autistic scale, or would they be?
So
what?
there's a lot of controversy around this. So I will just tell you my experience. So this boy I've just told you about, one that grew, he was diagnosed with autism at the age of 5 and a nervous breakdown. When he was 7 or 8, he went back to the doctor who diagnosed autism, and he said, well, you're not autistic anymore. What have you been doing? And the mum said, well, I've taken her to see Sue. He goes, well, he's not autistic. There are no symptoms. Okay, so people say that's not possible, and I've had rows with people about this. So that is my experience. So not going to argue with a doctor in London. This child wasn't autistic anymore. It's not that autistic people are wrong in any way at all. It's not a judgment. It's just a way of being. So just to make that clear. But yeah, like my son, he was diagnosed with off-the-scale dyslexia, and he isn't dyslexic now. So we just sorted out the muscles and nerves that stopped him from being able to function properly, and now he does.
It's fascinating, because the work that I do, Sue, is working with people, taking them back in utero, conception, utero, and birth.
Wow,
and I found that if I work with a mother of a child that's somewhere on the spectrum, then if we go and look at the points of trauma, either while she's pregnant or birth, and we
Yeah.
clear those, then that has a massive effect on the child
Yeah.
as well. So it's that very early foundational developmental stage, as you said right back at the beginning, is like something interrupts that, and it is usually trauma
Yeah.
that then has this knock-on effect. So I'm super excited to hear that, you know, other people are doing that type of
Yeah.
work as well. We're just doing it from a different way, but it's having the same effect.
Yeah, there are many paths up the mountain and they're all equally valid. But yeah, I love that about the trauma thing that you do. I think it's brilliant. And I always, it doesn't matter who I'm seeing, homeopathy or neuro, I always say, what shock did you have in pregnancy? What shock here? What, because it's all caused by shocks. For example, the Moro reflex, that one,
Yep.
if a mother has a bad shock while she's pregnant and the Moro stays retained, the child stays in fight or flight. So they're born in a state of fight or flight. And that's gonna impede things somewhat,
Yes.
absolutely. And so that does need help, 100%. Yeah, yeah,
I thought my father had a journey with early onset dementia for 11 years. So he spent 11 years. So I spent 11 years with him, going through that journey with him.
yeah,
And what I know about his early life beginning was that his mum died very soon after he was born. He had two older sisters, but she died of TB after he was born. And it was fascinating to look back, because when I was 16, my mum went through, you know, left my dad and started going through the divorce thing with him. And I haven't really worked out what age he was, but in his very early 60s, that's when the dementia started. But he described it. He just said, it feels like my brain is shrinking. So when I took him for some tests, literally his prefrontal cortex was the part of the brain that was deteriorating, that was getting smaller. And that is the part of the brain that is influenced and developed, because the prefrontal cortex doesn't develop in utero, it develops after birth and in the first year. So somewhere within that first year, his mum died and
yeah,
obviously abandoned him. And then he was adopted by his auntie, his mum's sister. So it was really, you know, I can, like, looking back, I can see maybe the trigger of my mum leaving him, because he couldn't process it. He would always say to me, I don't understand why she left. You know, I've been a good husband, I've provided, I just don't understand it. And he couldn't process it. And I think what was happening is that he hadn't processed his mum's death, and then it was re-traumatized by my mum leaving him, and that was what started the dementia. So it
yeah,
would be
possibly. Oh, bless him.
fascinating to be able to go back and you know, if he was still alive, and maybe do some of those exercises with him and just see.
Yeah.
But
Maybe some aconite, the homeopathic remedy aconite would have helped him, or, an
mm,
ignition, and, all of those shock remedies. They work wonders for that sort of thing. But yeah, oh, bless him.
beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, so so Sue, just before we wrap up here, is there anything else that you would like to share with us, either about anything you've got coming up or anything that we haven't covered that you feel is important to share with maybe parents or
Um, if people want to help themselves, getting outside in the sunshine and doing exercise and keeping active is good, because all movement is good for depression. It's good for your brain. It's good for your body. So keep active, and definitely be very mindful of the quality of the food you're eating and the water you're drinking. So filtered water, and just do your best to stay healthy. And if you need specific help, hopefully my latest book will help you, or my other ones. Yeah, but just, yeah, keep moving and just meditate, be happy, focus on that. I don't mean be happy flippantly. What I mean is focus on your mental health, because that's a big thing. I work very hard on mine. I do work daily on my mental well-being, because I
yes,
think it's a big issue.
yes, and it's so super important to our physical. body as well, to have a a clearer mental and emotional bodies.
Definitely.
Super important. All right, so if somebody's listening to this and going, yeah, absolutely want to sign up to one of your courses, or your need your what your website was, BrainBuzzz, did you say?
Yes, BrainBuzzz is one word, 3 Zs. So brainbuzz.co.uk. I'm just seeing if I've got a logo anywhere I can show you.
Don't worry, I'll put the link below and also on the video here.
Okay, so brainbuzz.co.uk, and on there, on the front page of my website, is a list of buttons to push, and then you go to the home page and the rest of my website's there. The front page is a green button, which is to my shop, so you can buy any of my books there. My courses, there's a link there too. They're hosted on Teachable, but if you have any questions about that, get in touch. And
okay, so they're online classes that anybody can take at any time?
yes.
Wow. Okay, great.
So let me explain that. So there's a course for parents to be able to help their child. I've also got a practitioner course, but I've also got I can't remember if I've got lessons on there for grown-ups, but you can just contact me and we'll see what we're doing. Yeah. And that might be easier these days because that's all from quite a while back. Yeah, but it's all still working. Yeah, just get in touch with me.
All right, brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Sue, and just keep up the amazing work. It's just
thank you. And you, yours is amazing too.
Thank you. It's people like you that really are really needed right now, as people are, starting to look towards what we would call alternatives, but more natural ways of healing our body and our minds. So.
Absolutely. And, it shouldn't be painful. Let's just embark on this journey of peaceful healing and peaceful recovery where necessary. And yeah, that's why I'm here, I think, helping people as you are.
Yes, exactly. All right, Sue, thank you so much. And
Well,
everybody take care. And I hope you enjoyed this interview. If you did, please like and share. Okay,
thanks
thank
very
you.
much. Lots of love.
Lots of love, Sue. Take care. Bye.